Welcome to Movies in the Making, everyone! If you would like to hear about how more films were done behind the scenes, please like down below and subscribe to this channel for more videos, including what films you think should be talked about. In today's episode, we are going to be looking at the 1975 horror thriller film Jaws, released by Universal Pictures and directed by Steven Spielberg. Here, we shall dive deep into the story of the production of this film. This is not the first feature film Spielberg ever directed. That was The Sugarland Express, Universal Pictures, 1974. But it was this film that started his reputation because it has that much more popularity. To celebrate its 50th anniversary, we shall explore it now. Do not blame me if this makes you scared of going into the water. Now, sit back and enjoy the show. You are all in for a thalassophobic ride. In 1974, author Peter Benchley wrote the novel Jaws. Benchley secured the copyright to the book and later transferred all motion picture and related rights to Universal Pictures and the Zanuck Brown Company, meaning Universal gained the rights to the book before it was even published. With these rights, Universal produced and released the film adaptation, followed by a sequel, Jaws 2, in 1978. Universal registered the copyright for the film and began distributing it globally, establishing the property as a valuable and widely recognized franchise, which they later, regretfully, expanded further with Jaws 3D, 1983, and Jaws the Revenge, 1987. In the early 1970s, Universal tapped a young, relatively inexperienced 26-year-old Steven Spielberg to direct Jaws, based on Peter Benchley's then yet-to-be-published novel. Spielberg had already built a reputation for talent with his work on Duel, a suspenseful TV film that aired on ABC on 13th of November 1971. Which helped convince producers Richard Zanuck and David Brown to trust him with a full feature. Despite concerns about the book's unlikable characters and the technical challenge of portraying a 50-foot shark, the studio saw box office potential after the novel became a bestseller. Production designer Joe Alves found Martha's Vineyard as the perfect location due to its geography, and special effects veteran Bob Matthew was brought out of retirement to build a mechanical shark. Casting emphasized realism over star power. Spielberg avoided big names like Charlton Heston, instead choosing Roy Scheider, Robert Shaw, and Richard Dreyfuss. Despite Benchley's skepticism about Spielberg's abilities, the director was determined to see the project through. Roy Scheider landed the role of Chief Brody in Jaws somewhat serendipitously. Spielberg had struggled to find the right actor, cycling through lesser-known names while facing pressure from producers to cast someone recognizable. At a party, Scheider, who Spielberg admired from The French Connection, 20th Century Studios, 1971, noticed the director looked down and asked what was wrong. Spielberg explained his casting dilemma and outlined the plot of Jaws. Enthusiastic, Scheider responded, "What about me?" and Spielberg, struck by the idea, immediately agreed that he would be perfect for the role. That chance encounter ended the casting show and brought Scheider on board for what became one of his most iconic performances. Spielberg initially wants a well-known star like Lee Marvin or Sterling Hayden to play the character Quint, but Marvin turned it down, preferring real fishing over acting. Producers Zanuck and Brown suggested Robert Shaw, who had impressed them in The Sting, Universal Pictures, 1973. After watching Shaw's performance in From Russia with Love, United Artists, 1963, and A Man for All Seasons, Columbia Pictures, 1966, Spielberg was enthusiastic and agreed that he would be a great fit. Shaw accepted the role, bringing a commanding presence to the character. Although he had a reputation for heavy drinking, once even challenging Zanuck to a fistfight over a ping-pong game, his performance became one of the film's most iconic elements. Richard Dreyfuss landed the role of Hooper in Jaws after initially turning it down, telling Spielberg that he would rather watch the film than star in it. However, after seeing a rough cut of The Apprenticeship of Duddy Kravitz, Astral Films, 1974, and feeling dissatisfied with his own performance in that film, Dreyfuss had a change of heart. He reconnected with Spielberg and screenwriter Carl Gottlieb over dinner in Boston, where they promised to enrich Hooper's character. With only days left before filming began, Dreyfuss officially joined the cast, rounding out the central trio alongside Scheider and Shaw. While Dreyfuss's on-screen chemistry with his co-stars helped drive the film's success, tensions behind the scenes, especially with Shaw, were intense. Shaw was a seasoned actor with classical training and viewed Dreyfuss as an inexperienced, young punk, frequently challenging him, both verbally and through antagonistic behavior. Their feud escalated during production, particularly around the filming of Shaw's iconic Indianapolis monologue. At one point, Travis tossed a glass from Shaw's hand overboard, prompting Shaw to silently menace him with a fire extinguisher off camera during a later scene. Although the tension heightened the realism of their characters' conflict, it created a strained atmosphere on set that Dreyfuss only spoke of more warmly in retrospect. Jaws was primarily filmed on Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts, which served as the fictional Amity Island. Spielberg chose the location for its authentic coastal village charm. Wide shallow beaches and oceanic setting, ideal for shooting in open water, which he insisted on for realism. Edgertown stood as downtown Amity, with many recognizable buildings and streets still intact today. Key scenes, like Chrissy's opening death sequence, were shot at Edgerton's South Beach and Cow Beach. Other memorable spots include the Jaws Bridge over Sinjacontacket Pond, the Amity Harbor in Edgertown, and Menemsha Village, where Quinn's shack was built. The production also used Chappie Ferry for scenes involving the mayor and filmed on a dramatic cliffs near Gay Head Lighthouse. In a clever bit of improvisation, one final shot, the flowing severed head, was filmed not in the Atlantic, but in editor Verna Fields' backyard swimming pool in Encino, California. Spielberg needed a last-minute insert after filming had wrapped, so the team recreated an ocean look by adding milk to the pool water for murkiness. Though Martha's Vineyard gave the film its visual authenticity and atmosphere, it was this scrappy bit of Hollywood ingenuity in a suburban backyard that helped deliver one of the film's most iconic scares. The shark in Jaws, nicknamed Bruce, after Spielberg's lawyer, was a groundbreaking animatronic creation designed by Joe Alves and built by effects veteran Bob Matty. Bruce was not just one model, but a combination of 3 full-scale mechanical sharks, each built for specific movements, including a shark sled that ran along underwater tracks. Instead of using miniatures or tank footage, Spielberg insisted on filming in the open sea to capture realism, a choice that added complexity. Bruce's construction featured a steel skeleton and pneumatic systems encased in protective tubing to mimic lifelike motion. To make the shark seem larger and more terrifying, the team combined the animatronics with real shark footage filmed in Australia, using a scaled-down actor in a miniature cage for perspective. Ah yes, and to anyone in the audience wondering, yes, the great white shark character from Finding Nemo, Walt Disney Pictures 2003, is in fact named after the animatronic used on set of Jaws as an Easter egg in that film. Despite the ambitious design, Bruce was plagued by constraint malfunctions, especially in salt water, which corroded the mechanics and rendered the sharks frequently unusable. This forced Spielberg to rethink his approach, leaning into suspense and implication rather than direct visuals. Drawing inspiration from Alfred Hitchcock and using clever camera work and underwater POV shots, Spielberg crafted an atmosphere of dread that was more terrifying than any visual of the shark could have been. The film's opening scene used practical rigs to violently drag actress Susan Backlini through the water while the shark remained unseen. The creative use of music, barrels, reactions, and slowly escalating glimpses of Bruce built psychological horror roots in anticipation. Ironically, the shark's failure gave Jaws its greatest strength, terror born from the unseen. The making was filled with immense challenges that nearly derailed the entire production. One of the biggest hurdles was filming on the open ocean rather than in controlled water tanks, a pioneering choice made by Spielberg that brought unpredictable weather, strong ocean currents, and constant shifting of boats, which made shooting scenes extremely difficult and time-consuming. The crew operated from a fleet of 16 boats, often battling seasickness and accidents, including a serious incident where the main boat, the Orca, nearly sank. These conditions led to a dramatically extended shooting schedule. This meant 159 days instead of the planned 55, and a budget that ballooned from $4 million to as much as $9 million. Still a relatively inexperienced director, Spielberg struggled to maintain controls the demanding shoot pushed everyone to their limits, with producers regularly questioning whether the film could be finished. The grueling production took a heavy toll on Spielberg personally, who feared his career might end with the film. John Williams became the composer for Jaws after Spielberg asked him to create music that would capture the primal fear inspired by the shark, rather than the complex, dissonant sound Spielberg initially expected based on Williams' earlier work on Robert Altman's Images, Columbia Pictures 1972. When Williams first played his simple, now iconic two-note theme, that being the ominous E, F, motive, Spielberg was skeptical and thought he could not be serious. However, Williams convinced him that when played by the lower orchestral elements, like basses, cellos, and timpani, the minimalistic theme would be truly terrifying. This collaboration marked the beginning of a legendary partnership, with Williams' score becoming one of the most memorable and enduring in film history, symbolizing the lurking menace beneath the water and shaping the film's suspenseful atmosphere. As of the 16th of June 2025, Jaws has a 97% critics rating on Rotten Tomatoes, an 87 out of 100 critic score on Metacritic, an 8.1 rating on IMDb, and a 3.9 rating on Letterboxd. The film's budget was $9 million and it grossed about $260 million following its initial release on the 20th of June 1975. The film received an Academy Award for Best Picture nomination and won Best Original Score to Williams, Best Film Editing to Fields, and Best Sound to John Carter, Roger Hemon, Robert L. Hoyt, and Earl Mattery. In 2001, the film was chosen by the American Library of Congress to be preserved in the National Film Registry as culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. In 1982, Universal sued Film Ventures International and associated parties for copyright infringement after they released the film Great White, Variety Distribution 1981, alleging it was a blatant ripoff of Jaws. The court found striking similarities between the two films, including plot structure, character archetypes, sequences of events, and overall feel. Both films depicted a monstrous shark attacking a coastal town, with parallel scenes and character roles, down to specific details like the shark swallowing explosives in the finale. Universal proved ownership and access, and the court ruled there was a high likelihood of infringement. As a result, a preliminary injunction was issued to halt the distribution and exhibition of Great White in the United States during the litigation. And that wraps up our deep dive into the making of Jaws. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to stay updated on all things movies in the making. Let us know in the comments what you think of Jaws, or if you have any favorite moments from film we didn't touch upon, or what films you would like to hear covered by this channel. Also be sure to check out our community page, where we announce what films will be talked about by this channel each week. New posts arrive every Friday. Thanks for watching, we'll see you all next time on Movies in the Making. We will be talking about Rollerball, United Artists 1975, and more films follow along the way. Tune in for more Movies in the Making as we uncover the stories behind cinema's most unforgettable films. This has been Jason Scotchmer, film enthusiast and passionate about the arts.